Welcome to the sixth episode of the Real Estate Update webinar. I'm your co-host, Sterling Fryar, and with me is my appraiser-hating co-host, Meagan Campion. This free webinar is brought to you by H&E Learning, and as always, this recording will be posted on our YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe for more content and educational opportunities. Today, we are so excited to have Texas Realtors Chairman of the Board, Jef Conn, and immediate past Chair, Marcus Phipps, on to talk to us about leadership and how they got to the top of Texas Realtors. Gentlemen, thank you again for joining us. Jef, let's start with you. Tell me a little bit about yourself and what is something that maybe people don't know about you?
Well, my parents only had one F to give, as you can see by my name right here. I live in Lubbock, Texas. I'm a commercial specialist, and I've been doing this 17 and a half years. I sell office buildings and industrial buildings, and serving as the 2024 chairman of the Texas Realtors has been a highlight of my volunteer leadership career. It's been a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed it and got to work with great people like Mr. Phipps.
Marcus, same question.
Howdy, everybody. I am Marcus Phipps. I live in Harlingen, Texas with my wife and our little Shih Tzu, Dixie. Some of you may follow Dixie on Facebook. She's a Facebook celebrity. We have 3 kids, all Aggies, so gig them if you're out there. I know Sterling's an Aggie. Yes, Megan's an Aggie. And hoping to be at the TU game in a couple of weeks so we can BTHO Texas. But I am a residential brokerage owner. I've been in the business for 28 years, manage in my own office 13 agents across the Rio Grande Valley, and broker record for a few other companies. I love to golf, and one thing you may not know about me is I beat Sterling Fryar on his home course the first time I played it.
Yay.
I hear that's not hard to do, though, so.
It is not hard. I got a bum knee, I got to have surgery, the whole thing, and that's probably what caused all that.
I'm sure, yeah. It wasn't the 2 errant shots you hit out of bounds on the 17th tee box.
Man, who's keeping track?
One thing you should know about Marcus is he has a stellar memory and he will remember everything. So I've been believing that was a true statement.
Yeah, it was.
Sterling, I don't know if it's your shirt reflecting your face or if you're just that red today.
I am. Got beat by like a 70-year-old man. Like.
Okay. All right.
Couldn't find his glasses before the webinar, but he'll remember those 2 shots on 17.
That's a good start. Good start.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, how did y'all get involved initially? Walk me through the process. Is it obviously local, state, etc. But where did y'all start?
Go for it, Marcus. I'll follow you.
So back when I got into the real estate business 28 years ago, I was a young man, had a little bit of hair on my head. And because I was, have you ever, something popped up on the stage or on the screen.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So MLS was actually at that point in time converting from the books, which some of our audience may remember the books, to online platforms. And they brought in me and some other younger folks who were embracing technology to help convert the MLS from books into an online platform. And so I chaired the MLS committee for a few years, served on the board of directors for a few years, became an officer. I was president of my local association for the first time in 2012. While serving as president of my local association, met the members of the Texas Realtors leadership team. I was really heavily engaged in something that was very important to me policy-wise for the state legislature. It's still at the top of my radar. We're almost there in bringing adoption to the change that we need in this particular policy element. But that drew me into leadership. I looked at being regional vice president, served as regional vice president for Texas Realtors, chaired the political involvement committee, and then spent 5 years serving on the leadership team. And it's been one of the great joys of my life to serve Texas Realtors in the way that we have been.
What exactly was the policy?
So that's a model subdivision rules issue. We refer to it as the Colonia law. There are underdeveloped areas here along the border, especially in Cameron County. And some legislation was enacted back in 1985 and then revised in 1989. It has not been updated since. The author of the bill, a good friend of mine, Senator Eddie Lucio Jr., who's a retired senator now, is seeing firsthand the damage that this bill or that this law has now caused locally, because he's trying to develop some land and he's stuck in the model subdivision rules that he created in these bills. And he is actually looking to assist us in revision of this law this year. It's great when the author of a bill comes around and says, we need to fix this. It's way beyond what it ever intended. And I said, I've been screaming that at the top of my lungs for the last 15 years. So that's how I got there. And it's illegal. Realtors will appreciate this comment. It is illegal for someone to sell a piece of land if it's less than 5 acres inside the city limits, less than 10 acres in the county. So if you have a 5-acre piece of property that's outside the city limits, has water available, has sewer available or septic available, you cannot sell that property. You can't even place a sign on it. It's against the law, and the fine is $2,500 a day for offering the property for sale.
Wow.
Not that that's a violation of my rights as a private property owner, but
Not at all.
that's just part of the issue. We got really close in the last session. Our bill got to the floor, but didn't get a hearing.
Wow. And Jeff, before we get to you, that was one component that I didn't know about whenever I first started, was the policy and the lobbying and the importance of PACs. At our last webinar, we had Ben Rodriguez on, and Meagan, help me out.
Isa Fleming.
Yeah, Isa. And, really going through all that the PAC does, and as far as lobbying and all those things. And I mean, I just had no clue what was going on behind the scenes. And I mean, it was eye-opening once you get there and see it.
Raising money and helping to elect candidates is one thing. The magic that you never see is our policy process and our policy team and what they do in the Capitol. Our policy team lives in the Capitol for 140 days starting in January. They may as well just take blankets and pillows and set up on the benches outside, because they don't leave until 2:00 in the morning. They're back there at 6:00 in the morning. On days that our bills are having some action or some traction, they're going to be there. They're the best in the business, and the legislators will tell you that.
That's incredible. Jeff?
I got started because I didn't know I could say no. And it was at my local. They asked me to chair a commercial committee, and I said, sure. What did I just sign up for? And did that for a couple of years. And they said, you should run for the board. And again, I didn't know I could say no. And I'm really glad I didn't know that, because I enjoyed the process of helping both residential and commercial, our board make good decisions, because though we may specialize in different types of real estate, it's important that we are able to protect the process all the way through for our consumers. So I really enjoyed it. And part of being in my local leadership in Lubbock, America, where I live, is that you are required to serve or apply for state committees. And so we bring a lot of people to our state conventions, because if they're on the board, they're also applying for committees. And so got exposed to what was happening at the state level, served as regional vice president, really enjoyed it, and then started having conversations with people like Marcus and Cindy Bulla, who is in my region here in Texas, of what it looks like to serve as Texas Realtors Chairman, and had to figure out what that meant to get ready for my business to be able to do that. So that I was president of my local in 2017, and here 7 years later, which is pretty fast, I think, when looking in hindsight. Happy to serve as chairman this year. It's been a great experience, and I'm going to echo the comments that Marcus made. Our lobbying staff is incredible, and they make volunteer leaders look like rock stars, but they are working so hard on our behalf, and they do more than we will ever know. So I'm very grateful for them, and it's been a fantastically fun experience.
That's great. And Jeff, you said something. So you had to kind of prepare your business for, what was coming. So let's talk about that, because I know that being in leadership is very rewarding and there's a lot of positives. What are some struggles that you both had in your path to leadership and then your time as chairman? What did that look like for y'all?
I will say this, and I'll probably say it a couple of times. It is possible to have a successful real estate business and serve in leadership. I was told when I was on the local board, your business is going to struggle. And I said, no, it's not. So every year my business increased from 2012 when I first joined the board to 2017 when I was president. And then on the state level, I kept hearing, I don't know if you should do that. That's going to ruin your business. You can do both. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of patience, and you've got to be really organized, because right now, if I look at my flights that I've taken this year, I have taken 127 flights, and we're not done with the year yet. Now, Marcus and I live in areas where we have to take 2 flights to get to Austin sometimes. So that number is artificially high as a product of living in a non-major market. But you have to be gone a lot, and you have to be able to work from your laptop or your iPad or your phone. And that takes practice. And the best advice I did is, we all know Trey Bates is Vice President of Government Affairs for Texas Realtors. He was a practicing realtor, a commercial guy like me. And I said, Trey, how do you prepare for this? And he said, start going on vacation and learn how to work away from the office. So from about 2015 up until now, I would just book the cheapest Southwest vacation I could fly out of Lubbock, go somewhere and figure out how to work, and write down what didn't work, come back and figure out the technology or the solution to do it. So for years, I have been traveling 100+ days to prepare for this, and it has opened up a lot of opportunities. And now, having served almost the full year as chairman, had I not done that, I would be lost. You have to have systems in place and a support system both at home and your real estate office, or you will not be able to do this leadership position. It is tiring, it is taxing, but it is possible. Being well organized with systems and figuring out how to work from a hotel room at 4 a.m., because your clients don't care if you're in Austin or Lubbock, they just want their deals done. So you have to work in a way where my clients don't realize how many days I've been on the road and their deals still get done. And you can be successful and be in leadership at the same time.
Yep.
Marcus?
So people ask, how do you ever work? When do you work? Especially like when we're at conferences, that's when they see us the most active, right? But it's not just at conferences. There's a whole lot to this leadership role. What you see on the outside is what I would call the glamour shot. You see us at conferences where we're on stage and leading things, and it looks like a glamorous role. It's a very challenging role to serve in leadership for Texas Realtors. You get to deal with the good, the bad, and the ugly of a lot of different personalities with a whole lot of different opinions. You can imagine, if you've been in leadership at your local association, just spread that across the state. Oh, and then by the way, throw in a national lawsuit settlement that changed the way everybody did business, and you get yelled at because the National Association settled on your behalf. And we thank NAR for what they did, and they're doing great and continue to do better and better. So we're super proud of where we are now in that stage. But coming back to the element of the question, when do you work? How do you get it done? In 5-minute increments. Like we take a break from whatever we're doing, and I have 5 minutes. I'm going to return 4 phone calls, 3 text messages, and look at as many emails as I can and rip them back. Fortunately for me, everyone owns their own real estate business, right? But I own my real estate company where I have people working, and I just manage. I gave a lot of business away to my agents for them to handle it. And of course, they pay me referral fees on those deals and whatnot. But I am blessed with an incredible staff, one of whom's been with me for 20+ years, one who's been with me for more than 11. And that's my staff, my close, tight staff. So being able to operate away from the office is a whole lot easier when you've got that support staff in place. I know Jef has one too that takes care of things while he's gone, but he works a lot at 4 o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock at night. It's why you want to come to bed? You don't want to come hang out at the bars? Like, I've been here all day. I got to go take care of some business before I go to bed. I'm going to be up for 3 hours.
Don't forget your business partner and roommate, Lisa. Shout out, Lisa.
Yep, that's right.
Might need to clarify that one.
No, we should leave it vague, just like that. If you have questions, call Marcus and ask him.
So you talked about some of the struggles with people disagreeing with whatever. What do you say to those people to get them involved? I mean, ultimately, if you want to see the change, you got to get involved, right? But we have people that don't want to get involved. They want to focus on selling real estate, and I totally respect that. But what do you say to these people?
You're talking about people who bring negativity and don't have anything to contribute to the cause? I just lost my monitor. Can y'all hear me? There we go. Came back.
We can hear you.
Yeah, what just happened? It's never happened before. That you're talking about the naysayers and
I mean, it doesn't have to be the naysayers, but the naysayers seem to be the loudest.
Naysayers are the loudest, and it's really easy for us to operate within our realm, because we have guardrails, and we call it our lane. You'll hear us refer to our lane all the time, and we'll get people who come to us and say, I'd really like for you to advocate for this. We have this bill coming up in Congress. It's there. Can you help us with it? We think Texas Realtors should be involved. And if it's outside of those guardrails, the answer is a no. And it's a solid no. And this is why. Anything that's going to divide our membership, we will not touch. We have to have, a major consensus among all of our members to be able to go down any given lane. So you start talking about anything that's outside of those guardrails, doesn't have to do with property, we're not going to touch it, because even if you think you can tie it back by 3 quick connections, it may not make it, because if it's going to divide our membership, then we're not going to do it. People just have different opinions about things like vouchers. People who, we're going to get involved in the voucher question, right? No, we're not. So that's, the legislature is going to deal with that. And half the people in the world would probably say we really need to be on board with vouchers, and half say we need to say no 100%. So wherever you fall in that realm, that's the kind of stuff that we have to fend off from time to time. But because of our guardrails and the policy manual that we publish well before the legislature goes into session, we're able to stay focused. And usually our members are very willing to accept that answer.
I think I'll add on to that. As leaders, sometimes we just have to be really nice to people, because there are a lot of jerks, and insert whatever word you want, who solely think that their voice matters, even though they didn't come into the meetings. They don't fully know what's going on. They think we're being shady with information, whatever the situation may be. Marcus and I had the unique experience of serving with Travis Kessler as our CEO, and he's a master at calming people's emotions. And so with that comes when you're in leadership, there has to be a protocol for who responds. So in Texas Realtors, if something happens today, Marcus doesn't respond. Travis or I respond, and most of the time it's Travis. You have the CEO and the chairman for Texas Realtors are the people who speak on behalf of the organization. Every local association or group needs to have the same protocol. When something happens, who responds? So that way, if we get a string of emails, or if people try to go around and one-up person to find a different answer from the same group, we can sound like we're a uniform voice, because all of the responses, no matter who they're being sent to, are funneled through 1 or 2 people. That's it. If your leadership team follows those, it makes it very easy. If anyone gets out of line, then it's like, okay, now we got to play some cleanup. But part of our job is just being kind and informing those people and realizing they have a voice that's just as important as a person who showed up to public policy meeting every year for the last 10 years. However, when you talk about influence, the person we see at conference every year, year after year, that's the person we're going to trust with information. That's the person we're going to trust to be involved. We're going to ask them to help make a change. The person who's just the squawking box, who doesn't show up in anything, we're going to listen, but we're probably not going to put them on the team if they don't want to be there, because they haven't proven that they're willing to put in the work to do it.
Yeah. And Meagan or Sterling, one of y'all asked, how do you, what are the steps to actually reach this level, right? And we told you our stories. The best advice that I can ever give anyone is find something you're passionate about, or know what you're passionate about. Find how you can serve your local association in that way, and serve well. The way that you advance in leadership is doing the job that you have because you love the job that you have, and doing it really, really well. So when I was an MLS committee member, I was the best MLS committee member that I could be, which made me the chair. And I was the best MLS chair that I could be, benefiting our members in every way that I could without driving up costs. And then I was the best director for my local association and officer, and just served with passion in every role that I had. I redefined how we did our budget. I redefined how we did strat planning. I, redefined our association. And then the illegal subdivision thing came along, and I jumped on all over it, getting in with our lobby team at the time. Daniel Gonzalez was at the helm of that. I was like, Daniel, we have a real problem here, and we need to find a way to fix it. And created a task force, and threw myself into our land use policy committee, and served very, very well there, which people said, wow, maybe you should be looking at your regional vice president position. And I was the best doggone regional vice president that I could be. And actually was sitting in the regional vice president training at conference this past session, and watching the stuff go by. And I was like, that's the training that I wrote in 2016, and they're still using it. So it was just, eye-opening to see the impact that I was able to leave behind, because Jef and I are in regions where we have multiple associations that we serve. I had 11 local associations across a span of about 400 miles, and when I was RVP, and I was helped people define how to serve in that role, but was the best regional vice president that I could be, and people started asking me to run for leadership, and that's how, but the key is serve with passion where you are with what you have, be the best that you can be in that role, and you'll learn to enjoy leadership and flourish.
It's a good point to not use anything as a stepping stone, even if you have aspirations for above and say, I have to do A, B, and C, or I should do A, B, and C. That's okay, but you've got to serve where you are. So Marcus, you hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah. Never sought to be the Texas Realtors Chair, never sought to be leadership. Just the opportunity presented itself because of what I did well.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I know y'all both know Max Puello. He's our RVP out here, and he is just crushing it. And I don't see him much at our stuff. I mean, of course he's there, but I know he's spending a lot of time going to the other associations in our region. And I mean, he's just doing a really great job.
I think a lot of people view leadership and think, oh, these guys and girls get to go on a lot of trips, and they're on stage and it's fun. And it's easy on social media. We post the fun things. We post when we're with our members. And as the leadership team, we love going to the regional meetings and eating where you eat and seeing your members and seeing where you live. That's fantastic. But what they don't see, and what we're not often posting, is the hundreds, if not thousands of hours for the leadership team, the 50, 60 days that we are in meetings apart from meetings of our conferences. There's a lot that goes on to it. So one of the best things someone can do to prepare for leadership is have a real tough and direct conversation with your family and with your office. Ask former leaders, how many days are you going to be on the road? If the beginning of the year that was supposed to be 89, it's going to end up being closer to 97 or 98 this year of hotel stays away from home. What does that look like for your family? Do you have kids involved? Are there dogs? What is it that when you leave, your spouse or partner is going to have to take care of when you're not there? Same at the office. When I'm not here, it means I cannot physically show buildings. It's 2024. We can do most of our real estate stuff online. I can't physically be here. So I had to have conversations with my team here of, hey, can I call you and use you kind of join my team artificially to show properties, and you get to represent the tenant. And so there's got to be a lot of communication before you get into leadership. And if you're in a city like Houston, your local leadership travels as much as the state leadership. If you're in Lubbock, you may be 20, 25 days a year out of the market and traveling. So you've got to know what you're signing up for, and then add 10% because you never know what's going to happen in that year, and make sure that your family is okay, because this job is very tough by itself. You add work and family stress on top of it, it gets even more tough. So you've got to have those conversations before you're in the roles. And one thing that Texas Realtors does well, spouses and partners and guests are allowed to come to our state meetings. So they get to see the other people that we talk about and talk to every single day. They get to know who the other spouses are. And that's really important for your family members to know who you're working with. So when you're at dinner saying, hey, Marcus and I talked about this, they know who you're talking about. And it's not just this name that is stealing tons of time away from you and your family. It's someone that they now know and are friends with.
I think that's just such good advice just for real estate professionals in general, right? Because I tell people all the time, I work after 5 p.m. and on weekends. I do mainly residential, farm and ranch. That's when people are off of work. That's when people can go look at properties. You know, there's been a lot of times where my kids have eaten dinner in the car because mommy's showing a ranch. And it just happens, right? And so I think that's just good advice for even new real estate agents, just getting into it, just knowing what you're going to be doing. It's so rewarding, but it is tough. And it can definitely take away time. And it's just how you present it and how you balance that is so very important.
And I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Whenever I stepped in and I had a long discussion with my wife, my kids were 4 and 7 at the time. Now they're 5 and 8. And I did not plan well enough. I did not understand exactly what we needed to do, all the things. And there was a major added stress that I didn't account for. And, I got, Jef, you've got 11 days and I've got 32 days left or 42 days left. So
it's not that anyone's counting.
it's been rewarding, and I know y'all will say the same, I think, but it has been stressful.
I think the greatest thing someone who is wanting to be involved in Texas Realtors, maybe that's a regional vice president, maybe that's in a committee, Google Texas Realtors 3-year calendar. Find out if you're, whatever role you're serving in, where are you going to be for the 3 years? And it has NAR meetings on there too. It has President Circle. It might actually doesn't have President Circle because that's not, those dates aren't known in advance. But if your schedule with your kids doesn't align with that year, maybe you need to wait a year before you sign up for that. If you're thinking of Texas Realtors leadership team, remember, after you're chairman, you still have a year as past chairman. We're still going to be traveling, albeit it's about 20% less. You're still going to be traveling. Does that match up with your kids' graduation? Does it match up with softball games or soccer games? You've got to decide that for you and your family. And I'll just be frank, family comes first. It should not come before this role or any leadership role. So maybe figure out what that actually looks like for you being out of home and not being able to attend those things before you sign up for something.
And, for people that are out there listening that are just thinking about it, so I am not in local leadership. I'm not in state leadership. I am a great cheerleader. However, I am vice chair for a committee for REBI, which is national. And so I do, and I'm also on a TR committee. Maybe I am kind of in it. I don't know. Accidentally, somehow I got there. But that means, for me, not even being in that leadership role, that's Texas Realtors winter meetings. That's the legislative meetings in DC. That's Texas Realtors Conference, NAR conference. And my husband, we sit down, in November, December, and we look at those conferences for the next year and go, okay, how does this look? What does this look like with his schedule, with our kids? And, that's just 4 conferences for me. That's not even all the extras. And so it's great that you can plan ahead a little bit and they have that out there and you can see where the conferences are going to be, what kind of travel you're going to have to do. I think that's so very important.
Maybe you plan your family vacations around an NAR trip. We were just in Boston. It was beautiful. There are days before, there are days after the conference. So a lot of times you'll see our leadership team maybe fly from one city to another because it's closer, and we will utilize that time to include some family time because we have signed up to go to all these meetings and there's a lot of them. And sometimes they're in really cool places like Boston. Yep. You look at that schedule, and if your family is not on a self-employed schedule where they can do whatever they want, align some vacations because then they're part of the journey, and you may be at that conference for 6 days, but before or after you get a couple of days with your family, it's going to make it a whole lot more enjoyable.
Y'all need to ask Sterling how much fun he had at Disneyland in Anaheim last year. It was the best time of his life.
It was so nice. One and only churro I've ever eaten in my entire life.
And it was the best churro you've ever eaten, right? It was so good.
You seriously need to come see me, Sterling. I live in the land of the churro.
Oh, it's so good. But going with her and 2 others that are Disney nuts was not fun for me. I bet we walked 30,000 steps or whatever. We rode every single ride. It was fun for a little bit.
What princess did you dress as, Meagan?
I did not dress up. I was trying to get them to Disney Bound with me and they would not do it. I did say like Chippendale, like Rescue Rangers. And then there was like the jokes of like Chippendale don't wear pants, or I'm glad you sent a picture because I was showing up in just like pants and a bow tie, the wrong Chippendales. Like I can't with these people. But no,
you gotta be careful what you say.
Sterling's blushing, matches his shirt again. Yeah.
And my husband's looking at these text messages going, what kind of work trip is this? I don't understand.
You actually hit a good point. A lot of times our families think that we are having fun, and we are, but what they see is we went to a meeting and then we went to dinner and then we went to have drinks and we're getting home later than we normally do. And so it almost seems unfair that we get to have as much fun as we do because part of conferences is networking with other people. So communicating what you're doing and really emphasizing, I'm going to finance. I sit on real property operations and finance for NAR. So I'm going to this 4-hour finance meeting. It doesn't sound fun. And trust me, it's 300 pages of numbers. I enjoy that because I'm a nerd. But making sure I say I'm doing that as well as having dinner with my team and going out to see some friends from Ohio, because then your family doesn't just think that this is a break or a holiday. They see the real work that's being done and also that there's a networking aspect of it. So how we communicate conversations with our clients, it kind of rolls over into leadership. You've got to tell them more of what you're wanting them to focus on. And I would not spend my entire time talking about all the great dinners I had while I was out of town. It was all the work we did. And yes, we had some good dinners, but we worked on A, B, C, and D. that's what your team needs to hear. That's what your local associations need to hear when you come back. And that's what your family needs to hear. Otherwise, it gets really confusing of why we spend so many days out of the office and at these conferences.
No, I agree. The
Yeah.
networking aspect is so invaluable that, I mean, I met Marcus at a piano bar, not necessarily the first time, but we really got to hang out and, and then our relationship just evolved. And Jef, I met you at a conference. I mean, all of these people, and I never thought joining our local association that I would be on a text group with the chair and immediate past chair of Texas Realtors and be able to lean on you to in leadership, and Christy Gessler and Wahop and all them, like I said, it's invaluable, but it's hard to explain that to people that aren't involved.
And you did mention Chrissy Gessler. She is the incoming chair. Y'all, today is her birthday. If y'all can flood her with love and messages.
Can we get her phone number out? I'll do it. And just
absolutely put it in chat. She'll get all these text messages from random people that she doesn't know. It's also so I mean that we'll just give her a shout out because she's got a great year ahead of her with great team around her.
She does know that we're going to do that. Christy's fantastic, but I didn't want to overwhelm her with 100 text messages. I said, hey, you might be getting a lot of text messages. Don't ask questions. Happy birthday. She said, okay.
So go ahead.
No, okay. We're good at this. So not that y'all are counting, but a few days left, right? And Sterling, this is for you too, because you're rolling off of your year as president of San Angelo. What's next, right? What does the future look like? What does it look like, Jef, as you come off of chair? You have another year as immediate past chair. What are y'all doing the next few years other than another countdown to when you actually roll off?
I think I want to address the countdown real quick. So I do have a countdown on my phone. It's not because I've hated this position. For me, that number has been going since it had a 400 in front of it. For me, it's, hey, I can do anything for a day. I can do anything for 2 weeks. I can, when things get really stressful, Marcus can attest, at times this year was extremely stressful behind closed doors. I can say, I can do this for 200 more days. All I need to know is for this amount of time, I am serving the members in this role. That doesn't mean in day 12, I'm done. It just means that on December 1st, Christy Gessler is going to be our chairperson, and we're going to gladly support her and get behind her and still be part of the team. But for me, it's more of an accountability of, Jef, you have 11 days. Don't screw this up. What you say, whether it's on a Zoom like this, if it's in a text, so you have to be very careful because we represent more than just ourselves and our companies, especially at the state level. We represent 150,000 plus members. So how we interact and what we put in writing, we have to be very careful of that. And so that to me is a constant reminder of, hey, for 11 days, you better watch what you say, who you say it to, and no matter what, have a smile on your face because that is the job that you have signed up for. As far as what comes next, I'm excited to support Christy and the rest of the team next year. We've got a great 2025 year planned with the legislative session. And though it is a little sad because here in a few days, Marcus rolls off our group text. And Sterling, you'll probably experience this. It's a cutoff. You're off the text because there's a new person coming on. And so my goal for next year is to find out ways that I can help keep past chairmen involved because that will be my last year on the leadership team. And I know that Marcus has been, I can't even imagine to guess how many text messages, phone calls, emails, and Zooms we've been on together in the last 4 years, tens of thousands. And so going from that to zero was very tough. And so finding a way to keep past chairmen involved would be what I want to work on next year while making sure back Christy and the team 100% and do what they need. Perfect.
Marcus?
Yeah, the relationship that develops at this level, especially because we travel together so much, is it's incredible. And Jef and I are incredible friends. We share way more than leadership roles together. I'm still incredibly close to Cindy Bulla, Marvin Jolly, and Russell Berry, the 3 other team members that I served with in the past. Russell, a couple of months ago, my son was flying through Dallas and he got stranded overnight. And Russell went and picked him up at the airport, took him, fed him, took him to his house, took him to the airport the next morning so he could get home. And that's the family that you build and develop. We know each other's pets' names and birthdays and everything else. It's a life that we built together. But for for the Texas Realtors Chairman, what it looks like when one rolls off of the team, you're still very heavily engaged, at least for a few years. Next year, I will chair our credentials committee. The Texas Realtors Credentials Committee is one of the most important committees that we have because they interview and select those who will be the next leaders of our association, from the regional vice presidents to the leadership team itself. Just making sure that those qualifications are there and that they are a person who has the temperament to be able to serve the association in the way that it needs to be served and be responsible with the title that they have. So I have one more year on the Credentials Committee. I will serve 2 years on our legal review committee, which by that name, you can probably imagine that was a very, very active committee this year. But our legal review committee manages our legal fund that we have to help associations and members who get sued and have a fight to fight. And if we fight that fight with them, we'll support it from the legal fund. So I'll be on that committee for 2 more years. The past chairs always gather at winter meeting, especially the past chairs will be there. We're directors for life. We are a member of the Texas Realtors Board of Directors for life. So that's why you see the past chairs there. They care. But another, huge part of that role for me is to mentor the next layers of our leadership. We have people who want to serve in, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years. Help me prepare. Tell me what I need to know. Tell me what and coaching them along on their way. We're not selecting the leaders, we're helping shape the leaders. And it's just a valuable role that we play. Still involved with my local association. One of my agents will be president next year, and I've been counseling her all year. Bless her heart. It's been a challenge, but to have someone with the knowledge that we bring to the table in your office as you're trying to lead your association, it's a huge benefit, but it also says, I'm sometimes the guy that says, what did y'all just do? And they have to back up and redo it. But continue to serve in the National Association as well. So my local association, the state association, and the National Association. I'll be a member of the RPAC Federal Disbursements Committee next year, and still a director for 3 more years. So still got a little bit of give left to give.
No, and Jeff, I'll echo what you said. The countdown thing is primarily a joke, but you're exactly right. It's, hey, we have made it this far. We have done so many good things. I'm so proud of what we've done this year at our local level, and the relationships that we've cultivated at a state level, all of the things. It's just, it has been stressful. And I do joke and kid with our association AE, and she's like, I really hate that you say that. I'm like, well, it's a joke. It's all a joke. I will be here to support Roy and the upcoming chair, upcoming president, and I look forward to just a little bit more free time and going to the conferences and catching up with y'all. And Jeff, I think I owe you a beer next time I'm in Lubbock.
Meagan, what is your local association there in Gonzales?
So I am actually, we're kind of in the center of everything. So I'm actually with Williamson County, but Four Rivers also serves this area, and Abor kind of spills over a little bit. We're all we're right in the center of everything.
Sabor as well, maybe Sabor, and maybe even HAR a little bit is what I was thinking.
Sabor, HAR. We've got TXMLS. We've got Bastrop just merged with Williamson County. So there's a few that we all are kind of just in the middle of, and it's an interesting dynamic over here for sure.
I was driving through LaGrange recently, and I was like, who's their local? Me in the same boat as you, all in the middle of everything.
Yep, absolutely. And I will say, with the countdown for y'all, what I've seen from y'all especially is, it's not so much I just have to get through 12 more days, right? It's I've got 12 more days to make a difference and to keep going. And it's so impressive to me how, especially with everything that y'all have been through, it's a hard thing to do the leadership that y'all have done. But the past 2 years, unless you've been living under a rock, have been a little bit more difficult in our industry. And I applaud y'all for the job y'all have done, and the poise and the the way that y'all have handled yourselves. It's been so impressive to watch, and we thank you for that.
I think it's important to realize that we're talking about these days, especially at Texas Realtors, not one person does anything. The chairman may be on stage or on camera, but we do everything as a team. So when we're getting ready for leadership summit that we just had in October or our conferences, every person, including the red shirt, is in part of every conversation. When Texas Realtors supports or does not support something, it's not because someone said, oh, I want to do that. It's because the whole team has done it. Not every local is run that way, but I encourage any locals or people who are moving up in leadership, get together with your team and know them outside of the boardroom, because the more meals you share. In fact, I'm going to test Marcus right now. Marcus, we're at whatever restaurant in Austin. What do I order for dinner all the time?
Salmon.
There
Or
we go.
sea bass or some kind of fish.
We eat together a lot of meals, so much so that we could order for each other. You don't have to go to that extreme, but that's just a product of spending 4 years together on the same team. But if your leadership team doesn't know each other and doesn't genuinely like each other, it's going to be really tough and rough when you don't disagree about, or when you don't agree about something. So my biggest advice to anyone would be start building that relationship. And maybe it starts with you go to dinner or lunch before your board meeting, something small. And over time, though, there will be a compound interest effect of the trust you have with the team and what you can do together. Because if one person's running the show, you're not doing it right.
Yeah. If all you ever do is disagree in the boardroom,
Not doing it right.
nothing's ever going to come together. So yeah.
And everyone will see it, right? All the members of the association, they'll see it. People around you will see it. It doesn't just stay in the boardroom, for sure.
Yeah. And an interesting thing about it, if I go somewhere without the rest of the team, because we conquer and divide from time to time, people will say, how's Jef doing? Because they know I know. They know I know what's going on in Jeff's life. They know Jef knows what's going on in my life. It's a relationship.
I mentioned the lawsuit. We're going to ask one question about it, and then we're going to move on, because I think we're all a little lawsuited out. But as leaders, how did y'all navigate that, and what do you recommend for agents in Texas or across the nation to stay informed, to stay ahead of what's going on, and to keep themselves as in line with everything as possible?
Marcus, I want you to go first. I have an answer. I don't know what you're going to say.
The biggest thing that we can say is stay in touch. Facts.realtor has all that information all the time. Texas Realtors /lawsuit, texasrealtors.com/lawsuit has all of our information on it. Brokers, please stay informed and keep your agents informed. Forms are changing. There's a reason why. Know your local MLS rules, because some MLSs don't allow seller concessions to be mentioned in their MLS at all, and others do. And some require you to have a representation agreement to show rental property, and others don't. So know your local MLS policies. And if you're in overlaying areas, know both and abide by the firmest rule, right, and where you're working. But stay informed as much as you can and utilize the information that's at hand. And if you don't know somebody, ask, because we still run into people who, do you have your buyer rep agreement in hand? No, I'm just showing them this one house. Got a problem here, pal. So get that fixed. Just stay informed, stay in touch, and utilize the resources that are there, because Texas Realtors and the National Association have gone overboard in communicating what needs to be done now and how things are different.
That's a great micro practical view. I'm going to go a little bit bigger, and I'm going to copy Jason Alt at Amarillo said something incredible. He said, NAR is worth saving. And I believe that 100%. I believe we're much better today than we were a year ago. My encouragement would be, whether it's a lawsuit or anything else, the new NAR article that just came out about spending, about the New York Times, there's a couple places where that's going to blow up. Social media, which I scrolled last night and this morning, so many inaccuracies in all the things. And the hub.realtor, which is a dumpster fire at times. But before you are the person who is commenting, take a breath and ask yourself, do I know all the information? Because the answer is no, you don't. Even Kevin Sears doesn't know all the information. He knows far more than any of us on this call. But we as Texas, we do a good job of, we'll text each other, we'll ask questions, but we're not stirring the pot in the hub. And if you are in any of those online meme groups or real estate groups, please be careful what you post, because even though it's a private group, it may not actually be private. It is subject to antitrust rules. All that to say, NAR is worth saving. We've got some growing pains and some bumps in the road. Let's add to the solution, not to the problem of it. NAR is going to be here. And if you don't agree that they did us a major favor by doing the lawsuit, give me a call. We'll talk about it, because they did. Texas Realtors is not going anywhere. We need to be the part of the shaping of the future of our organizations, not the one that tears it down. So if you are great keyboard warrior, my encouragement to you is to stop. You can be part of those, but maybe be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Agreed.
Fantastic.
So, you mentioned Travis, our fearless leader who is retiring. He officially retires in March.
March 31st is technical last day, although there'll be some overlap after that, cleanup and stuff like that.
And I know Christy mentioned it, she came down and talked to us at our monthly luncheon last month. How's the search process going for a replacement? Or
I'll
can
be the
you
one
say?
I will be the answer. Marcus, don't say anything. I will say something. We are excited that in the coming weeks, the search committee will bring forth their candidate or candidates. Timeline, you should know something in the first couple of weeks of December, but definitely by winter meeting, we hope to introduce that person at winter meeting. I think we're all going to be, whoever it is, we're going to love it. It's going to be exciting. So leadership is actually quite removed from this portion until we get a little bit further along. So how many candidates interviewed? No idea. Who are they? No idea. It is on purpose. The leadership team has selected a search committee that was selected on purpose by experience, by region, but also by their trustworthiness to keep their mouth shut. And I can tell you, I talk to most of these people on a very regular basis, been in lots of meetings with them. Not a peep has been slipped. So when I say the leadership team has no idea, we have no idea. So it is coming. Stay tuned. You will know as soon as everything is gone through the proper channels. And just so you know, search committee is going to narrow it down to 1 or 2 candidates. The leadership team will meet with those people, and then a decision will be made that will have to be ratified by the leadership team and then the board of directors, executive board, and then everyone will be informed. There'll be press releases. You will not be in the dark. But until that time, so basically between now and February when we have winter meetings, no one is going to be able to ask, or you can ask, but we're not going to be able to tell you anything, because as soon as we're able to release it, it will be released. So I was as vague as I possibly can, but just know it's coming soon.
That's fair. I do not envy that person having to follow, Travis. I mean, I'm sure Travis has had a hand in, cultivating and all the, training and all the things, but man, that would be a tough follow.
We may have some people outside of Texas, and if that's you, I'm sorry, but Travis has done an incredible job. His entire career has been in the real estate industry, and he leads with such grace and such purpose. We have really hard conversations that when he responds, you're like, wow, I feel great. He is a masterful communicator, a great leader, very well loved. So we're not going to replace Travis. However, we have an exciting future with Texas Realtors, and whoever that new CEO person will be is going to be the right person, because they will have been vetted multiple times by multiple people, and they're going to lead us in the direction we need to go. So I'm confident that we've had great days with Travis, and I think Travis would agree with my next statement. We have even better days moving forward, and we can be sad Travis is going, but he deserves to go spend time with his wife and his grandkids. So we're excited for him, but I personally am really excited for what's coming next for Texas Realtors.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So y'all are still both practicing realtors, right? And so with the leadership roles that you've had and extra insight, what do you think are the most significant trends impacting local Texas real estate markets right now? And how should leadership teams adapt their strategies to address those trends? That was a curveball I threw you, so y'all take a second.
Well, I'm going to answer that question in a way you didn't expect. This year has taught our leadership team, more than anything, how important it is to be in communication with our local associations. We see each other all the time, but we don't have strategic conversations about, hey, what is this lawsuit? How's this going to affect us? So having more honest and open conversations, whether that be Zoom or in person, has become very important to our leadership team. That extends to brokers as well. And so talking to the people who are doing the deals and knowing what's going on in Harlingen is going to be different than Lubbock, and it's going to be different than Angelo. However, there's some commonalities there. So I think the most important thing that's coming is better communication and not being afraid of hard topics. This lawsuit really pulled off a Band-Aid where we had to have some really hard and awkward conversations that has forced us and enabled us to have more comfortable conversations down the road about what's going on. Our clients still need us, whether it's commercial, whether it's residential. They need professionals to stand up and do what's right and guide them in important real estate decisions. That hasn't changed. Interest rates will change. The forms we use may be updated and changed, but they still need us. So as long as people are staying up to date, know what they need to do, and are doing the right thing, I think they're going to be in great shape.
And as far as the business side of it and working locally is concerned, one thing that I've noticed is I'm not getting showing requests from agents I don't know anymore. It's the, welcome back to 2018, 2019, when this is what real estate was. And you had to work your tail off in the business to know and to be known, so that you are the go-to person when somebody's looking to buy or sell real estate. So, it's one thing that I'm looking forward to is getting back to prospecting. The biggest challenge when you're in a role like the leadership team is having time to prospect and build your business for the future, not just for today, and you have your pipeline when it's time for that to be there. But we have a lot of people still coming into the business, but we've been talking for years about a loss in membership. I believe that we are still going to see that. We've been forecasting, every year we say, 3% less, 4% less. NAR's done the same thing, and we exceed membership numbers every year. The time's coming because the number of people that we have in the business that aren't truly in the business are not going to survive in the business next year. It's just going to get too challenging. So they're going to not renew their licenses. They're not going to not renew their membership when that time rolls around and decide that they can't do it. So the ones who never knew how to work to build a business are the ones who are going to suffer the most.
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm moving around. My computer just said, "Hey, you might want to plug in your computer," and it was plugged in. So I guess something was way wrong.
Well, hey, at least your monitor didn't disappear on you.
Yeah, it was close. I was fixing to be gone.
That wouldn't have been bad for us, but it's fine.
There we go. So what is, of both of y'all's years, what's the most rewarding thing that has come from your time in leadership? And don't be PC about it. Come on.
Don't be PC about it.
I can
go first, Marcus.
tell you a few different things. I'll go first so Jeff can think about it. I know that no matter where I go in this state, or no matter where my kids are in this state, I've got somebody who I can lean on. I have built relationships from Beaumont to Amarillo to El Paso, and I see you on here, Shy, and you're in these people. But from corner to corner, top to bottom, I have a friend everywhere, and I treasure that. I also treasure the family that I have built through the members of the leadership team. There are, 8 very, very special people to me that I, served in the trenches of leadership with. And what's the most rewarding? Those relationships. Nothing can replace that. And beating Sterling at golf on his home course that I never played.
You're going to cry for a minute. I thought we were going to see tears.
We're not going to cry today.
I think it comes with the end of your term as chairman, because someone was asking me a question. I was like, why am I tearing up about this? This is just a conversation. I think we pour so much of our time and effort and energy and our spare thoughts into these roles that it can get emotional when you're saying, oh, we're coming to a close of that chapter and something new. I would agree with Marcus. The relationships I've built, especially on the leadership team, they know far more than anybody else what's going on, business and personal, and even in the leadership team, the things we can't yet talk about. And so the level of trust we have, when you see our team out, it makes me proud. You know that we're friends just by watching us. What you don't see is we actually disagree quite a bit, but we are able to come out of that and respect each other and our differences and move forward as one voice. And so I love that. I have a greater appreciation for the real estate industry as a whole. We talked about NAR being worth saving. There's a lot of things. There's like some more growing pains that we're going to have to face at Texas and NAR, but I think it's going to be worth it. And so I have a greater appreciation of that. And I also have a bigger view of business after doing this, because we have fantastic agents that we've gotten to meet at all these meetings, and I say, okay, let's go to their website though. They're doing some really cool things. If you're running a team, check out Jennifer Wahop. She's doing incredible things with their team. And I'm like, I'm just going to copy that and rip it off. So it's amazing what we get to learn as practitioners to take with us back to our offices after all this is done. And so my view of the world of real estate is 100 times bigger than it was then when I got into this. And that's going to amplify how I do my business after this role.
Awesome. We've got about 5 minutes left. Marcus, talk about the fishing tournament.
The McAllen fishing tournament?
Yeah.
They do a great job of putting that fishing tournament on. I know that the price structure is changing this year, so I'm not sure how much it costs, but you can come down here with your clothes that you're going to wear on the boat, and they'll give you a guide. The guide brings all the tackle and all the bait and everything that you need, maybe show up with some water, or if you want to drink something else on the boat, bring that along. But it's great to just be able to come down here, spend a weekend at beautiful South Padre Island, get out and go fishing, and just to enjoy some time together. They hire bands and have food trucks, and they're changing venues this year. They're going up to the convention center, so I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but they always do a really, really good job of that event. They'll reach out to Greater McAllen Association of Realtors. They're the sponsoring association for that.
I've been 3 years and I love it. Sorry, what was your question?
When is it?
April 22nd and 23rd or something like that.
Yep. If you are from McAllen or the Valley and on this chat, please put it in the chat if that date is wrong.
It's in April.
It's in April, and it's not on Easter weekend. I know those two things. I personally love this.
So it's after 360. I think it might be the 17th and 18th or something. It may be a week earlier this year, but it's right in there.
For me, I get to bring friends from Ohio and from Florida. We've had some friends from New York come in. So as part of this leadership, you get to meet people from all over the country. And that's part of why I love being involved and serving at the national level, is we get to expand our network. Well, that's kind of become an annual vacation for my friends where we talk about real estate, we talk about tree pack, or we just get together and fish. And so that's what I love about that event.
Yeah, the first time I heard about it, I was like, I've got to get in on this, and it's on my list. I've got to go.
Yeah, and the water's shallow. A lot of people are like, it's saltwater fishing. The water's shallow. It's like a foot in some places, 3 in others. It's not like you're out in the ocean riding waves and getting sick.
Perfect. Well, we're getting close to our time, gentlemen. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here. Like we said before, we appreciate your leadership. We appreciate your time. Really quickly, I am going to do a shameless plug. Sterling and I are teaching a Farm and Ranch 101 class on this Thursday, the 21st, for Agent eLearning, who's our sponsor. If y'all would like to sign up for that, there is a discount code to do that for 15% off. And we would love to see y'all there. If you didn't get enough of us today, we do co-teach that. And if you've thought about getting into Farm and Ranch or anything about it, want more information, it's a great course for that. I am a little biased. But it is a great course. Gentlemen, do y'all have any parting thoughts or any parting words before we finish up?
Unlike Jeff's parents, who only had one F to give, you have something to give to this association or somewhere. So if you're not involved with your local or the state or the national association, do something good for someone else. This is a season of giving. Find a way to give back and to matter. The more you give, the more you receive, and just find a way to explore your passions and utilize those in the areas where you want to serve.
We often get asked, would I do this again? 100% yes, after I had a little bit of a rest. However, serving in leadership, it is fun. You will learn and you get to give back. And it's not all about us. It's about our whole industry. So get involved.
Yep.
I can't wait to support Sterling through his time as
That's right.
Texas Realtors.
You said you're going to be chair in 2032. Is that right?
Bye. Y'all have a good day. No, I don't know if y'all saw it real quick. I have a daycare on both sides of my office, and around this time every day, there's about 30 little kids that run by, and I didn't know if y'all could hear. Marcus, stop.
Here, I'll fix it. Hang on.
Leadership
Hang on.
team,
I'll fix it.
we cannot endorse anybody.
Oh, you
I
got
can.
trouble.
How's that? Is that better?
There you go. I'll let her know. Awesome, guys. Thank y'all so much. We're about 30 seconds early, but let's go ahead and end it.
All right. Have a great
Thanks,
one.
everybody.
Thanks, everybody.